Hi, I'm Dawn Gerald's, the broker owner of Zenith Land Real Estate. And if you're buying or selling a home in Georgia, and particularly if you're financing the purchase, or if you're a seller and your buyer is financing the purchase, you're going to need to know about the GAR financing exhibits that will be included in the offer. I'm going to be breaking down exactly what those financing contingencies are and why they matter to both buyers and sellers. Because whether you're the one applying for the loan or you're waiting on the buyer's loan to be approved in order to close the deal, these forms help keep everybody on the same page during the transaction. So let's start with the basics. The GAR financing exhibits are really add-on forms that are used with the Georgia Association of Realtors Purchase and Sale Agreement. And they outline the loan terms that the buyer is using to purchase the property. And they help to make it clear what happens if, for example, the financing does not go as planned. There are different exhibits depending on the loan type. So there are conventional, FHA, VA, or USDA financing contingencies, but the purpose is the same, and that's to define the loan terms, set any deadlines, and lay out the protections that both sides have. Let's look at the buyer's side first. As a buyer, you are probably getting a mortgage like most folks to help pay for the home. The financing contingency tells the seller what kind of loan you're getting, how much of the purchase price you're borrowing, and what interest rate you're aiming for, and then how long you're going to need in order to get the loan approved. And it also gives you something really important, and that's protection. So if you're working in good faith on getting a loan, but it falls through before the deadline listed in the exhibit, you may be able to walk away from the contract without losing your earnest money. So you're protected that way. And if there is an appraisal contingency included and the home does not appraise for the purchase, then you're going to have the right to renegotiate the contract terms with the seller or back out with perhaps no penalty. But if you waive that appraisal contingency, just know that you're agreeing to cover the difference between the purchase price and the appraisal price if it does not appraise. Now, if you're the seller, these financing exhibits are going to give you some clarity and some confidence in the transaction, because you're going to know exactly how your buyer plans to pay for the property, what kind of loan they're using, how much of the purchase price they're financing, and whether or not they're planning on bringing any extra cash to the table at closing. For instance, they waived the appraisal contingency. You're also going to have some firm deadlines. And if the buyer does not get their loan approved by the deadline laid out in the financing contingency, they could lose that contingency. And that would allow you to move on to another buyer or keep their earnest money, for example. When it comes to the appraisals, you're going to know up front whether or not the buyer is protected by an appraisal contingency, or if they've waived that contingency. And if they have, they are committed to paying the price that is laid out in the contract, no matter what it appraises for. So to wrap it up, the GAR financing exhibits aren't just paperwork. They are a vital part of protecting both the buyer and the seller as you move through the transaction. For buyers, they're going to provide some flexibility and some security if the financing doesn't work out. For sellers, they're going to offer transparency and a way to know that the deal is moving forward with those set deadlines. If you are in a real estate transaction in Georgia, please make sure that you understand what's in your financing exhibits, whether you're the buyer or the seller. And don't be afraid to ask your agent to walk through the financing exhibit with you. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and then also share this with anyone who's buying or selling property in Georgia. And stay tuned as the Zenith Land Real Estate YouTube channel continues to look at buyer and seller documents and helps you understand the nuts and bolts of them a little bit better.